Right on. Yeah, nobody replied on Patreon with any specific questions, but I've got plenty of questions.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it is what it is. Oh, hey, the one I said. Oh yeah, the Green Suitors said we would never get to
Episode 100.
100.
And here we are.
We have a friendly rivalry with them. We just bash each other's podcasts all the time.
You're going up against festival money. You're going up against the big guys, huh?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's be honest. That's the only reason they've got anything, because they got all that free festival money. Well, okay. So, okay. Oh, Derek, you got several questions on there. Okay.
Well, I'm editing. Hang on.
Okay.
It's just one.
All right. Well, Zach, do you want to play the little intro and we can get started?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Matt, you're good to go?
I'm great. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We got to do a KM Tools ad read for like 30 seconds at the beginning, and then we get into it.
Yeah. We'll do music, KM Tools ad read, and then we'll just...
Gotta pay the bills.
Right.
Exactly. All right. In 3, 2, 1...
Welcome to Off the Cut, a podcast where we talk about building, making,
and answering all of your questions.
I'm Eric from Spenceley Design Co.
And I'm Zach from Zach Builds. If you have a question that you would like us to answer on air, you can send it to offthecutpodcast@gmail.com.
You can find both of us on YouTube, Instagram, and unfortunately, because we have to keep up with kids, you can find us on TikTok too.
All right, now let's get into the show.
Welcome to Off the Cut episode 100. Wait, is this going to work? Oh, hold on. There's applause. We even got a soundboard. We're up in Toronto, down in Tennessee, and here in Ohio. Today is known as Tuesday, January 30th, 2024, which means the Green Suitors podcast, the worst podcast available on Apple and Spotify, still sucks. But
so.
You know what doesn't suck? Having
Tools,
Matt.
Baby.
Wait, hold on. Having Matt from NWA Woodworks join us tonight on the show, but more important than Matt joining us on the show is getting our bills paid, which we have to do by telling you about KM Tools.
Mm-hmm. By woodworkers for woodworkers. If it's in their store, it's in their shop.
Yeah. So basically, KM Tools, they've got a whole line of awesome tools. Actually, did you just see the new thing that Jonathan... Well, Jonathan told me about it like a couple months ago, but he just posted about it today on his story. It's this new thing that basically, like, if you make a crosscut sled, you make the little tiny kerf in your sled, and then you drop this in the kerf, and then you tighten it, and it makes a perfect 90-degree angle from the kerf in the sled, so you can line your fence up against it, so you can, like, instantly make a perfect 90. Go look on his stories.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's for sale yet, but he had like a full aluminum anodized mock-up.
Very cool.
Yeah,
so super excited for that. Yeah, it looks awesome. But anyway, he's got a whole line of tools. A lot of them he makes himself, and a portion of all sales go to the Katz Moses Woodworkers with Disabilities Fund, which gets tools into the hands of people who need it most. And the best part, every month, Jonathan is giving away a $50 gift card to KM Tools. All you have to do is sign up on our Patreon, and you're automatically entered to win. So huge shout out to Jonathan. And, well, let's get back to the show. Matt?
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, man.
Absolutely a pleasure to be here. And I mentioned it off broadcast, but I just wanted to say congrats on making it to 100. I feel like that's a big milestone. Like, it's like the first 7 years of marriage, the first 100 episodes of the podcast, like you made it through. You're good now. You're solid.
Yeah.
So you can keep pressing on. So congrats, guys.
Well, look,
I'm going to give a little bit of advice to everybody who wants to start a podcast and get to episode 100. You got to start doing it, even if you suck, and you just keep doing it, even if you suck. And eventually you will make it to episode 100.
Keep doing it. Don't tell anyone until episode 79 that you have a podcast. And then...
I mean, the Green Suitors are like episode 120, and it's at 120 garbage episodes. Anyone can do it.
It's
Yeah.
just filler. It's just, it's a bunch of people talking. That's all it is. Shooting
Exactly.
Right. They said that we'd never get to 100, but here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are. Whew.
Still
Well,
going.
Matt, for people who don't know you, just give them the quick elevator pitch. Who is Matt?
I am a guy who started cutting wood in his garage and then went so far down the rabbit hole that it's now far too late for me, but run while you can.
Right. I feel like that describes all of us. Like,
Yeah. So,
did you start out with I could build this cheaper?
I started out with my wife and I bought a house and we didn't have anything to put in it. And she starts sending me plans from, this person and this person. And it's like, look, all you need is a Craig jig and a drill and a saw and you can do this. And I'm like, oh, come on. I don't want to do this. And then hopped on YouTube, started watching the OG YouTubers. And I'm like,
Right.
I actually love this. I'm all in. Like I'm
Right.
spending my next paycheck on everything I can get.
So
That's
who were some of the first people that you would watch? Was it like Anna White plans, like the 2x4 furniture plans?
I haven't rebuilt it yet because my kids are still beating the crap out of it, but I still have the Anna White X-Brace farmhouse style coffee table in my living room, like 11 years later.
that's a
And
classic.
it's still there. People can still stand on it and jump off of it. I can attest to that. So it is pocket holes at its absolute best.
And how's the
Home Depot lumber?
Yeah,
and
that's what I was going to say.
And the Home Depot 2x6s, which are all like you can't even set a drink on top of it. It's so bad.
They're still not dry. They're still wet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
12
sealed
years
them.
later.
I sealed them like 2 days after I bought them with finish, and they'll never be dry on the inside.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Well, go ahead,
sorry.
Zach. No,
I just want to know, at what point then did you transition into being the guy following the plans to being the guy making the plans and making the YouTube videos?
Oh, that was that was a long time from that point in time. So I started out just kind of, building my tool collection, and I feel like I probably started in terms of when people saw me on social media and stuff way ahead of where a lot of people are, but that's because I did a lot of what I did way before social media. So I was probably working, say 3 to 4 years before I started posting stuff on Instagram back when it was just pictures. Right. And so as far as the world knows, I kind of was just I showed up with this shop full of tools and started working because at that time, I just wasn't in a place where I could share my woodworking journey like a lot of people do. But yeah, so that was probably 2015-ish when I first started, really heavy on Instagram, building a following. And then it wasn't until 2019, I think it was, right before the pandemic, when I started YouTube. Mm-hmm. And then it was shortly after that where I was off and running and, starting to do projects and project plans and kind of building out the skeleton of what would eventually become, the business that I'm running now. So,
I mean, it makes sense. What I think it's pretty cool is when I started at YouTube, I remember watching your stuff and I was like, man, this guy's crushing it. And then I remember the first time I reached out to you, I was asking you about plan questions. And then we had kind of met and you were giving me suggestions dude, do bundles on plans. I am so glad you gave me that piece of advice. That absolutely crushes doing plan bundles. And that's the awesome thing about this community is everyone wants to share hey, this is working really well for me. Try this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, by the way, that was in no way, shape, or form my idea. That came from Brad at Fix This Build That. I think he was kind of the OG bundler of plans. Yeah. I just kind of took that business model and ran with it, and man, am I glad I did. Because like you said, it's people love the deal. People love grabbing up all your plans at once, and it's become a pretty big part of what I do. So yeah, it's definitely highly recommended to give your customers as many different options as you can that way.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's such a nice thing about the woodworking community, especially Workbench Con. Like, I don't know if this exists in the photography, content creation world, but I find everybody in our world is so open and like, oh, this is really working well for me. You should do this. It's not. It's people aren't very guarded with like the secrets of their business, which is really hardening, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't do what I do without that, right? So I'm not necessarily like a hardcore entrepreneur, like go out and like, bang my head against a wall and figure it all out myself. Like I need to like see an example, like just show me how you do what you do and show me, how you make it work and all that. And then I can take it and apply it to what I do. So for me personally, sharing just seems like, well, of course I'm going to do that, because without that, I wouldn't be where I am.
Right.
So it is. And I think you're right, Zach. I think in our woodworking community that it is very much, help everyone you can come along. Right. Because it just makes the community that much better.
I think that's also reflected in a lot of our content, right? Like, what's the primary reason you started your YouTube channel is to like kind of teach people all these tricks and stuff that about woodworking or building things. It's like it's baked into it, so it's also carries over into like how we interact with each other, I think.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example is you learn a technique and then you start telling all these other people the same technique. How well do those tips and tricks videos do?
Yeah,
great, because people want to learn from other people.
People like tool videos, people like tips videos, and it's so nice to not have to build something, right? Like you go through a difficult 2-week build, 3-week, whatever, to produce a video on it, and maybe it does okay, but then you go into the shop and you spend 4 or 5 hours just blurting whatever comes out of your head, on a particular subject, and it does amazing, and you're just like, man, that is so satisfying. But it's also helpful to know that that's what people really, that's where the value comes in, right? Because I might make a coffee table and there's like a bazillion of those, right? And unless I'm pouring epoxy over it or adding LED lights to it or some other thing that's never been done before, people have seen that, right? They know how to do that stuff for the most part. But when they hear what works for you and your shop, I think that's where you really find your voice and can deliver value to your following. So yeah, absolutely. It's a huge part of what we do.
We've talked about this on the podcast a lot of time. It's like, if you're building a coffee table, the last thing you want to do is put in your title how to build a coffee table, because nobody who isn't looking to build a coffee table is going to watch that video. But you can say something like, I never would have thought about doing it this way, or something like that, and the video could still be a coffee table, but there has to be like a bunch of value, like just general advice in there to make it worth people's time to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the biggest thing that we all struggle with, is how do we get people to click on our videos? Because we, like, let's be honest, the three of us, if somebody lands on our video, it's passable. Like, somebody's not gonna be like, what the hell is this? They're gonna be like, okay, I'll check it out. But our biggest battle is getting people to click on the video. And if you just say, I built a coffee table, and you just have a finished shot of just like a white oak square coffee table, no one's clicking on that.
Exactly.
Because no one cares.
Well, that's why you had to like kind of like put on your marketer hat and be like, what's an angle I can kind of use to sell this product?
Right.
Which is, half the challenge of being a YouTuber. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's even 3/4 of the challenge of being a YouTuber. So that kind of brings me to a topic that I wanted to bring up, because Eric, you stole a thumbnail from Matt. And Matt, I'm looking at your channel right now, and I think you might have stolen a thumbnail from Scott Walsh. Did you not?
Oh, you got one from Scott.
I got one from Scott. Yeah, absolutely. I got one from Scott. John over at Lincoln Street claims that he has one of mine, but he hasn't played that card yet because his video is doing pretty well right now. So yeah, we're just like, I don't know what you would call that, but we're just like group sourcing thumbnails now.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's like you see what works, and it goes back to the same thing before. It's like the tips of how to run your business.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this thumbnail works. Like, yeah, if you can get a bunch of views from the same thumbnail, I don't care.
That's what Matt said. Like his 10 tools I wish I had bought video. I texted him. I was like, hey, dude, congrats on the videos. It's like going great. And then we were talking back and forth or whatever. And you were like, Eric, you really got to try one of these videos. I was like, all right.
How's it doing? Has it got to 1 million views yet? I haven't checked on it in a while.
I can look. I think it's 1,000 or something.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
at
See,
780 in 2 months.
See,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
amazing. The only thing I regret is that you keep selling out TSO products, and it's killing me.
I know. Yeah, I noticed tons of stuff is being sold out right now.
Yeah, man, it's done amazing. Like the between you and me, and I think there's a couple of other people that really kind of hit that hard over the winter months. But yeah, it's they've got some really amazing stuff over there at TSO. I'm not that this is a commercial for TSO, you know, but yeah, it's done really well. So it's good stuff, amazing tools.
Yeah. Well, and we all know that the red brand no longer pays people, so you got to find another brand.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you can talk about that in the after show.
There's your next thumbnail. You can blow up some red tools and be like, this was the worst mistake I ever made. You'll get at least 1 million views on that.
True.
But see, I get that, but I'm also not the person that just likes to bash people because they no longer are in a financial relationship. Like they make great stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, they do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's just
100%.
there's literally nothing I can do with it. Like they don't even have it on Amazon, so I can't link to Amazon. I'm just like I'm marketing a product I get zero on.
How did it work in the past? Did they have direct affiliate links?
No.
Yeah.
I never had any sort of relationship with them, so I don't know.
No.
I know they had a Bitly thing, but most people were on monthly or yearly commission or like a flat fee.
I haven't seen too many of those types of deals floating around anymore. Have you? I mean, you guys don't have to disclose like any brands particularly, but are you aware of anybody just like getting a flat fee from a brand for using their tools in their videos?
I'm signing one right now, or just in the final thing. But it's with a brand I've been working with for like 3 years. So
Gotcha.
Won't surprise you. Shocker, it's with Craig. Like
okay. Yeah, I kind of figured. Because it's funny, people often. This is like sometimes I like to go on Reddit and look at their conspiracy theories about like certain YouTubers. It's one of my favorite things to do. Like just go look at people talking trash about woodworking YouTubers, and they all think that everybody is like paid by Festool in order to use exclusively their tools. And it's like I don't know too many people getting checks from Festool for exclusivity.
No, I'm not aware of anyone.
Yeah, so
they do campaigns.
They do campaigns, and it's always very obvious. But I don't know. It's just interesting. People's perception of how you get paid on social media and how it actually works in real life is usually two different things.
Oh yeah, 100% agree with that.
But I mean, I think there are a lot of people that aren't transparent though. Like,
yes,
like if I post an ad, I'm going to put mark paid promotion or put ad or something like that. And I know some people are super open. Like Michael Alm, when any of his videos, he'll just be like, they gave this product to me for free, or like they gave this to me and paid me or something like.
Yeah,
I respect that.
Yeah, totally. I think it's a nice little added layer of transparency that you can do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when it's Festool, I mean, if Festool's paying you or they not, are you going to question that? Like, I mean, anybody would use Festool products if they could, right? I mean,
100%. Yeah. Well, actually,
it's not a bad thing, is what I'm saying. Like, you're not out there like pushing crap tools because someone's giving you a check. Like, anyone would do that. So it's kind of like you get that instant brand backing behind you, and it's like, well, I use Festool all the time. If they want to partner with me, that's all the better because I use them anyways.
For sure.
And if not, that's cool too. Like, I know plenty of people that aren't partnered with Festool that have a lot of Festool gear. just because they
Well,
enjoy
what's it
using
the first thing, like, you get a big, like, your first big check from YouTube, you're super excited, you're like, oh, I just got 1 million views this month. If you're a hardcore woodworker, one of the best things you can splurge on is more quality tools for your shop, right?
to make your job easier.
It's
Exactly.
an investment. It's an investment in what you do. Yeah.
Exactly.
What was
So,
everybody's first festival?
what was everybody's first festival? Ooh, good question.
I think mine was the track saw.
Yeah, I think I had the smaller domino was my first plunge.
I think my first one was actually the dust extractor and maybe the Planex, the big drywall sander. But that was for like my construction company.
Oh, okay.
Not for
I was
YouTube.
like, wow, that's a random thing to pull out as your first festival purchase.
I really hate sanding. I was like, give me a 10-inch sander. I'm gonna do this table in a minute.
No, I've seen Mike Coffey sand dining room tables with the Planex.
I should do that. That would be a fun, even if it's just like as a gag for a video. I should do that.
But honestly, it's not a bad idea.
You could just get like one of those big floor sanders and just stand on the table and just
Stand on the table. Yeah.
2 minutes later, it's gone.
Right.
You've seen the floor sanders that literally look like a lawnmower, right? Can you imagine if you're just walking on your table, like lawn mowing? I'd be like, it's got to sand.
Like, let's see how fast I can sand through 2 inches of walnut.
Oh, that would be a video that would drive people nuts. Oh. Well, Matt, I have one question. I've been asking a lot of people recently this question because it's the new year. So a lot of people are changing things up or doing things differently. What sort of revenue streams do you have? You obviously don't have to share the dollar amount, but maybe like a ballpark percentage. Are you like, oh, I just do YouTube, or I know you do Facebook as well. We've talked about that, but what sort of like revenue streams do you have, and maybe what percentage of your business are those if you had to roughly estimate?
So my current business model would be, ad revenue. So AdSense from the website / YouTube, all the same thing.
Right.
Same payment. Then it would be affiliate sales. It would be sponsorships and then planned sales.
Yeah.
I would say right now, probably YouTube, planned sales would probably be the two biggest. Like, let's just call those like 30% each.
Okay, sure.
Sponsorships is growing, so I work with a new group on getting sponsorships for my content now.
Yeah, you're on the same team as Zach and I.
Yeah,
okay.
so market influence. Yeah, so that's kind of the group that I'm working with now. So that is something that, I mean, if you look at the first, I don't know how many, probably 30 videos that I did on YouTube, there was no sponsor, and that wasn't necessarily because it was just because I didn't pursue that. Like I put no energy into that. I just wanted to establish myself and get going and learn how to do this. But that's a bigger focus to grow that. And then plan sales is one that is doing really, really well for me. So my goal for the next year is to make all 4 of those equal. So if I can generate the same revenue stream from all of those in equal proportion, that's where I've planned my 2024 to go towards.
Okay. So which one do you feel like you're going to have to put the most work in, or most
Well, the one that needs to make up the most ground would be sponsorship partners, because that was probably the weakest. But I'm not doing that work anymore, so I've farmed that out. Someone else helps me with that. But that one, as far as making up the most ground, would be the one. But probably YouTube is the one that I need to put the most work into, because up until this year, I've been part-time I've got a day job, and I just do YouTube and other social media on the side.
Right. And
my content cadence is the thing that suffers in all of that. So, doing 8 or 10 videos a year, you can only go so far, right?
Right.
So,
right.
And so for me personally, building that to a higher level and getting out and being more present and building my brand a little bit more on YouTube is probably going to be my main focus.
That makes sense. So, I mean, that's one thing that, we've talked about many times is this idea of, well, how often do you need to post? And like, I don't think there necessarily is you have to post every so often, but you're absolutely right. You have to stay relevant. But then do you ever worry? Because this is something I worry about is I know creators or other creators in other avenues, not just woodworking. I follow all sorts of other creators. I'm like, if this person posts like 3 videos a week, eventually I just don't even care. Like this person is just annoying me. Like, when does it become, ooh, this is exciting, you have new stuff? Is that more about the cadence or more about the content that you're putting out?
I think it's like the consistency of the video, because
Yeah.
I think all 4 of us know it's really hard to keep up quality, like a high bar on quality.
Yeah.
If you're posting like even once a week, to me sounds ridiculous. Like, I don't know how you could ever do like a quality video once a week, unless they're really short or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot on social media in quite a while. I kind of parked that as I really focused on building YouTube.
Yeah.
But I've been around, TikTok and Instagram even longer. And I feel like my philosophy on the utility of those things is changing.
Yeah,
so
agreed. And I wanted to talk about this. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah. So Zach's right in terms of like being a quality piece of content on a platform like that, which, I mean, if we're talking business, right, just from a business point of view, there's not a lot of upside there, right? So it's anymore. There used to be, there's not really that much anymore. Right. But I follow a lot of people on TikTok now, and the people that I go back to, the people that I consistently watch their content, are just people that pick up their phone and start talking to it, right? And maybe they get a little fancy with some green screen background and showing, infographics and stuff like that. But it is a lot more, just more personal communication to people, right? Just being yourself, talking about what's going on. What back in the day they would have called like the behind the scenes stuff, right?
Okay.
So I see little to no value in like if I do a project on YouTube and then I take that video and I crunch it all down and boil it all down to like a 60 or 90 second montage of what it is, that just gets no play anymore. Like that is old. That's the old way. I think the better thing to do, stories, I think will come back on Instagram because it works so well on TikTok in terms of people natively just getting on there talking, and then you go and you look in their feed and it's just them talking over and over and over and over again about whatever the thing is of that particular period of time. So for me, I think I'm going to focus a lot more and be a lot more intentional about being on those platforms just to build a little more community, build a little more presence, and not necessarily look at it. It's still a business strategy. You still have to be out there, and you still have to. People have to, you're relevant when you're in front of people, right? You're not relevant when you go away. Yeah. But it's a whole different ballgame in terms of what, and it's refreshing too, right? Because it's a different skill set. Your on camera presence has to be a little bit better. You're not. Everything is not up to the magic of editing on in Premiere Pro. Yeah. But I think it's more genuine. I think it's more quality in terms of your ability to get on there and say what you need to say in a concise and informative way that connects with people. It's a real skill set that I think I look forward to developing in myself. And I think I enjoy it and appreciate it more as a creator when I look at other people do it well.
Yeah.
get
I
that.
think what you were saying there at the end is super important about being concise and clear. Is like that's the key to short form content, is like how can you hook somebody, how can you deliver value, and how can you keep them entertained without, because all they have to do is flick their thumb to be on to the next video. You have to keep them there, and being able to do that is a real skill. But I also think you're right to be developing that skill, because that also informs your YouTube video. Like if your YouTube video is just, say it's 20 minutes long, if you think about it like 21-minute long videos that just keep hooking people and getting them to watch again,
Right.
to get them to watch again, that's how you create a really good YouTube video to some degree, I think.
You think that being genuine do you think that being genuine in the moment like that is a part of the quality that brings you back?
I think
say
so,
so.
yeah.
I would think so. I think it's you get to know the individual a little bit better than you would if you're just seeing me build something in a 5x or 10x speed video.
Right.
Yeah.
Than you would just me sitting down like we're doing now and talking through something, right? In 4 or 5 little short clips.
It's like creating that connection, that personal connection with the audience.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it goes a long way.
That's part of the reason I wanted to do this podcast, because it's almost like the ultimate version of that. It's different in the sense that somebody has to make the commitment. Okay, I'm going to sit down for an hour and listen to Zach, Eric, and Derek talk, but it's incredibly personal because there's no editing that goes on in any of this. There's no scripting, there's no pre-thinking anything like that. So I feel like you get a much more of a sense for our personalities,
Right.
in like how we would normally communicate with people than you do and what you would get from like a YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people and Zach, a lot of your content on your YouTube channel, you're also very good at the personal interaction on camera while you're explaining what you're doing, in your B-roll footage. And I think that's something I covet as a creator myself, is being able to have that level of comfort in the moment on camera to be able to explain exactly, because I'm not that way, and I haven't been that way. I have to I have to pre-think, right? Like, what are the questions that people are going to ask about this?
Yeah.
What would my responses be to that question? And then flow it out and be very, very intentional about the content that I create. But someone that can just like naturally go on camera and just start being like, and this is what you need, and you need to know this, and you need to know this, and watch out for this. To me, that's just like the best kind of content to watch, because it's like you're sitting down with somebody, at the proverbial bar, and you're like, well, how does that work? Oh, let me tell you how that works. Right.
Yeah.
That's a real skill that I think once you master that, you can go along, whether you're doing what we do or whatever your niche is. If you can do that and do it efficiently, that's the other thing. Like if you can do it not in 25 takes.
Yes.
Yeah. Which we've all been there, right?
Oh,
yeah. 100%.
That is just like that's like the chef's kiss on top of any YouTube video, is being able to do that.
Well, it's nice of you to say that about me, but I think what you're seeing is I've done the rough part where it took me 25 takes to get there, and I've intentionally honed that skill quite a bit, because it is. I mean, those are my favorite creators, is watching people who it feels like you're just kind of like hanging out with them in their workshop while they're explaining through things. So that's always what I try to emulate with my content.
Yeah, and like show people the struggle. So maybe you're like in the middle of a project, you're doing some voiceover stuff, and then you turn on the camera, and it's just like you kind of going up to the project, and you're like, I really don't know how to do this, but I'm thinking this.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, let's try this. Like, it might seem awkward to record that, but somebody was like, oh, well, it's cool that I can see like the thought process and progression going along here. And this person doesn't just have everything completely mapped out from the get-go. Like, there's a little bit of trial and error going on here.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Those little like talking clips are something I'm trying to add, but I also find it difficult. I'm working. I'm like, oh, I gotta like put my lav mic on and then
Yeah.
talk for 15
Yes.
seconds, like a little something. And sometimes like I don't even know what to say here.
I just try to, as soon as I walk in the shop in the morning, I put my lab mic on. I get like all mic'd up so that there's as little friction between me and those moments as possible.
Oh,
It's
that's
like
not a bad idea.
I just point the camera at myself, hit record, and then like talk. Half of it I don't even use because I'm like, this is boring. It didn't actually add that much to the story or whatever.
Sure.
Just toss it out. But
But then you have the option because your mic is going to stay charged the whole time.
exactly, yeah. Like my mic's good for like 6-7 hours of straight recording, and when I eat lunch, I plug it in to charge a little bit.
I wish I had that long period of time to work on stuff.
Yeah.
Matt, you still have a day job, right?
I have a day job until 5 o'clock on Friday,
Oh, congratulations!
and I am officially cut free of the corporate world.
Oh, hell yeah, good for you, man.
Ooh, that's exciting, man. That's
Yeah.
super exciting.
I'm so pumped. I've been looking forward to this day, and like everybody that asked me this question, it's like I'm ready to give like the best part of my day to what I like to do. Not that and I don't mean to say that I'm probably saying that the wrong way. I loved my day job and I love the people that I work with. It's just not what I want to do.
Yeah,
right. This is
yeah.
Teaching, doing content has become my passion over the last few years, and it's gotten to the point where I needed to make the choice. If I wanted to grow any further, I have to give it more attention.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fair to my employer if I'm trying to do shady stuff, and I just needed to decide. And I finally got to the point where I was like, all right, I think I can do this. Like, I think I can actually make it work. And so, last Friday I handed in my notice and started, saying my goodbyes. I've been at this company for 13 years. It's the longest that I've worked anywhere. And so it's been hard to kind of unplug myself from it. But I just keep focused on like the day that I wake up and I say, all right, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's going to be focused on making the MWA Woodworks brand that much bigger, that much stronger, that much more connected to my followers, all of that stuff. I'm just so looking forward to it. I've never, obviously most of us haven't done anything like this, right? So we're all coming from some version of the day job.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to kind of reinventing and creating this new chapter of my life and seeing where it goes.
So walk me through it, because Zach is kind of in this. He's slowly started like peeling off from your dad's, like the family business, right? You're dialing back hours. I still work a day job, but financially I could quit, no problem. But I have that like, I don't know. So like, did you struggle with the like uncertainty of like, how certain is this income going to be for a long period of time? Like, walk me through that. Like, what was going through your head when you were making that decision, both of you guys, to step away from, the quote day job?
Matt, you want to go first? It's more recent for you.
I got old and tired. I got old and tired.
Yeah.
So, I literally, and being as personal and transparent as I can, I reached my physical limit.
Yeah.
Of I have to decide what to do right now.
Yeah.
And the money thing is one thing, right? Because like you said, like I could replace my income doing this on the side.
Right.
But to be able to say, I mean, I've got 3 kids, right? And they're all school age kids. So I don't have anybody in college yet. There's no weddings to pay for. There's none of that stuff.
Sure.
Yet. Right. So that's all coming for me down the road.
Right. Right.
But, I just got to the point where I said, if I'm going to do it, right, which at this point I'm so committed, right? I've got everything except the full-time content creator title, right?
Right. Right.
I just have to make a decision that says I can't sit in front of a computer and do my corporate day job for 8, 10 or more hours a day.
Right.
Yeah.
And then turn around and sit at the same computer for another 8 or whatever hours,
Right.
go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning after I've like edited all of this footage from what I've been building. You can just get to a point where you can't do that anymore. And it helped me. It helped me make the decision. Like I have to go, I have to try this. And at the end of the day, I have my resume. I've been in the corporate world for 20 years. So I don't plan on going back, but I've got, somewhat of a safety net to fall back on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you didn't burn the bridge at your
And I'm
day
not
job.
burning the bridge. I mean, I've got all good relationships with people and all that stuff. So it's just like, I need to write this chapter of my life. I have to get busy doing it because I'm just at the point where I got to go. Like the ship is leaving. I have to go now.
Yeah. So I've gotten every once in a while, I'll be super busy at work, super busy trying to work on projects, videos and stuff. And then I get to this mental point where I'm just like, feel like so just tired and exhausted. And then it makes me think like, do I want to keep making these videos? And then I think, oh my God, well, if I didn't have to worry about the day job, I would have a blast doing this. But it's trying
to do the
back
two.
and forth, it's challenging.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also feel like it's unfair to the day job too, if you're mentally 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like what Matt was saying, like you do 8 hours of the day job, you do 8 hours back at home doing the video editing or whatever. And it's like, well, is it also fair to your family? Like I have,
fair.
I have a partner that I am responsible to, right? Like I want to spend some time with her.
Right.
And I didn't even mention that part of it. And I apologize for not mentioning that part of it because it is a huge part of reality for me. I'm a husband. I'm a father.
Right.
I have commitments and relationships and responsibilities outside of my home even, right? So things that I like to be involved in. And I very purposely put that not to the side, but I'm focused on this ramp up and trying to make this thing work so that I can jump and get out. Yeah. And for me, that's one of the more exciting things about this is I get to like have one job again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I get to have one job again and add those other things back in where they rightfully belong, right? And I have an amazing wife and great kids who have supported me through all of this. So it's only by grace that I've even made it this far in what I'm doing. And I know in a previous podcast, I listened to a previous podcast of you guys, where you guys talked about like supportive spouses and having that, the importance of having that in this type of endeavor. And I couldn't be more lucky to have that. And not just that, but in my wider family, like they think it's so neat what I'm doing. And then I'm able to do what, oh my gosh, I can't believe like what you're telling me is actually a real thing. So, having that little cheering section to say, yeah, go do it, make it work. And all that it's amazing. And then to be able to spend that extra time with them that I just haven't been able to do over the last couple of years. Yeah. It's going to be great. It's going to be really great. So it's a big motivator.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I've been, like you were saying, Eric, I've been like kind of like whittling down to full-time content maker. And so it hasn't been like this harsh transition. Like I haven't given this you know, like I'm quitting the day job, but I being, you know, I don't need to take this job. Nah, I don't need to take that one,
Right.
you know.
Mhm.
So it's been this kind of like slow transition towards it. And now it's kind of at the point where, you know, I'm losing money every time I go into the day job, which is,
Yeah.
you know, it's like that's a good problem to have, but it's also like, man, I really want to be focusing on the content
It's a
stuff. 'Cause
frustrating feeling, isn't it? It's just super
Yeah.
frustrating.
you're like, I feel like I have all this potential that I'm kind of squandering almost. Like I have this golden opportunity that so many people would kill for, and I'm kind of, you know, I'm kind of squandering it by not devoting my full energy to it.
Right. Right.
Um,
And I mean,
so yeah.
let's be honest. We've gotten to the point where, like, you know, your day job pays you a paycheck and you're like,
Mhm.
look at all of the hours I put in to get this number.
Yeah.
But then I can do this thing over here in the business
Hmm.
and get the same number, if not more. And I enjoy doing the business stuff way more. It
Yeah.
almost, the day job almost becomes like a burden sometimes when you think about it like that.
Oh,
You're
for
like,
sure.
you're still getting paid, still making money, but it's just like this, but this isn't as fun.
And I would almost like, I personally, I don't really need a lot of money. Like I would
know
be,
me.
and so it's like I would almost take a pay cut to just do the content stuff full time. It's just like a bonus that it
Not
has.
me.
Like
I need a lot of money. I need tools. I gotta
Well, you got-
have
yeah,
tools.
you got kids too,
Yeah.
right?
And I got things to pay for.
Yeah. But like I honestly like I would almost like I love the content work so much that it's like if I had to take a 25% pay cut to do that, I might. And it's just like this bonus that it
Yeah.
has like unlimited potential to, you know, in terms
Well,
of
and it's a unique situation, right? If you're Zach, if you're part of a family business, right? There's a dynamic there, but there's also like I would call it a
Loyalties.
safety net, right? But there's family
Yeah,
loyalty.
yeah.
There's a lot going in. Like you've already been a part of the business. If you needed to go back to the business, right? I'm sure they would have you back, right? I woke up one day. And Eric, you can probably relate to this a little bit, right? Being an employee of a large corporation.
Yeah.
You think about like, well, okay, the uncertainty of this content creation thing, right? You're kind of gathering a little bit of your income from a bunch of different places and how variable that can be over time. But I woke up one day and I said, you know, I've been in this world for a lot of years, but at any point in time, my company could have said, we don't need your services anymore.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
And then you're at zero.
And then you're at zero. So you live under this false sense of security
Yeah.
that says, oh, my every 2 weeks paycheck is the super safe option.
Yeah.
It is not the super safe option.
That's true.
Like
That's
it
very
is
true.
just as risky, and you're putting all of your eggs in one basket versus what I'm trying to build now, which has, you know, my income streams all spread out, and there's a lot of there's an active quality to it, obviously, but there's also a passive quality to it, right?
Yeah.
So all of the work that I have done, I continue to gain from, right?
Sure, you're still selling plans that you made a year ago. You're still getting views on videos you made a year ago. So
That's exactly right. So that I say that only to say that gave me a great deal of comfort in thinking I'm a fool for believing that this is the safe way to go.
Yeah.
And that really helped me, you know, steel my nerve to say, no, I can do this. If worse comes to worse and this all blows up, I'm going to be fine.
Right.
I need to go do this now. And I say that, Eric, to you and Zach, to you as well, just as a voice of encouragement to say, like, where I should say, I don't know what things are like in Canada, but because you work for your family, I'm going to assume that you're not just going to wake up one day and they're going to say your services are no longer needed. So
no, that's true.
Maybe a little bit different.
Exiled from the family.
Exiled.
No,
from the
honestly,
family.
I think if I work for like a big company that you know, like big Fortune 500 company, or even just something where I wasn't as deeply emotionally connected to it, like I would have quit so long ago. Like the only reason I keep doing it is because not only like, you know, do I have this emotional tie to it, but like I worry about my family's income. Like, you know, like, is it going to hurt the family business if I leave the family business? Are they going to be able to perform at the same level without me? So that's something that's always in my head too. Yeah.
I'm definitely, and my fiance and I, Miranda, we've talked about this a lot. It's like, I'm pretty sure within a short period of time after we get married in a couple months, it'll probably happen. I can't imagine I would still be working my day job at the end of 2025. I think the days are numbered that I will be there, assuming everything continues to go well. So
2025 or 2024?
2025, because we've got a lot of financial goals for 2024 that we're trying to pack as much money in the bank account.
Got to pay for that wedding, baby.
Baby's got big dreams.
Yeah, we got
That's right.
Wedding, honeymoon, home. Yeah, we got a lot of financial goals. So it's we're kind of sprinting right now, if you will.
Yeah.
Do that, you know, do that sprint, man. Do that sprint.
Being a content creator, your income, there's a certain variability to it, and you got to accept that. Like, you're gonna have good months and you're gonna have bad months, and you yeah, right. Like, you know,
December, you're like, woohoo, I'm a millionaire.
We're all coming off the holidays. We're like, oh my god, I made how much money this month? But then you go into the January, February, and July, and things are a little bit drier.
I'm eating dog food this week, and so
yeah, exactly. But that's part of the game, and that's a skill that you learn, is that it's like, okay, I gotta squirrel away some of the money I make in December for the rest of the year, right?
Yeah. But I think that's I remember the first time that I had one of those big ruts. I was like, that's it, it's over. And then now I know, like, that's just normal. I just go, oh, it's a slow month this year, or you know, slow month.
I'll be up next quarter.
You got through it. You got the experience, and now you know.
Right.
You know, okay, I survived that. I'm still alive. We still have ham in the refrigerator. You know, I can still make a sandwich if things are that bad.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And you know, as you grow as a creator too, it's like what you consider a slump now would have been like your high point 2 years ago or something like that, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing that's when you get to the point where you're like, oh man, I didn't have an all-time high month this month. Like, crap, things are starting to go on the downtrend. I only got 500,000 views this month. Damn. You're like, are you kidding me? That's insane. Right. You see that little needle go down, and you're like, oh, it's over.
Yeah, everybody always wants to see numbers go up, and that's it. But it's, you know, there's always fluctuation to it.
Right.
Yeah, they go up. You just have to zoom out far enough on the graph to see see it. Right.
I love that view, because for me, it's like the first like 2.5, 3 years, the line is just dead flat, not going anything. Then it goes whoosh, straight up.
Crazy. It's crazy how that works. Yes, you gotta mentally push through and believe in yourself that first part of it, because for the first 20, 30, however many videos you put out, you're gonna have those doubts, you're gonna have those thoughts, but man, when it starts to go, it's a much you get the payoff, right? You get the feeling of, oh yeah, this is what this is supposed to feel like. You get your mojo back and all that stuff. So,
and go ahead. Sorry, I was going to say, the fun thing is you get to have that a couple of times, right? Like, I remember the first video I posted, I was like, oh yeah, 1,000 views, like this is great. And then you post a video like, oh, 100,000 views, like this is amazing. And then it's like, oh, 1 million views, this is even better. So you keep having those moments throughout your career too, which is always nice.
Matt, the number I will never forget this, and I've shared this a lot of times on the podcast. It took me 68 videos where I was putting out a video every single week. It was on my 68th video where I didn't lose money. I didn't make money. I just didn't lose money on that video. So like was like over a year of just hammering out videos. Now, did I have a great strategy? Did I know what I was doing? No. But if I can figure it out, anyone can figure it out.
Yeah. It's
I
true.
had zero, like, I mean, it's been more than 10 years now, but you know, I was 30, however old I was when I got my first saw, my first job site table saw.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about woodworking. I certainly knew nothing about video editing or content creation or how to write a story or any of that. Nothing. 10 years ago, me, and today, me, completely different story.
Right.
And you just have to put yourself out there, be willing to be a student, be willing to learn.
Yeah.
And you'll pick things up and you'll add it to what you do, and then all of a sudden it starts to work. You know, it just starts to work. So it's that grind, that first couple of years, especially on YouTube, when you're just like, why am I even doing this?
Are there any other professions out there where you just have to eat shit for like 3 or 4 years before you make a dime?
I mean, your proverbial like intern at a company where you just have to get people coffee and and lunches, right?
Yeah. I was thinking like maybe some sort of sales job, like you don't make any sales, and then all of a sudden you like develop the skill for it and you get good at it.
Yeah.
Stand-up comedy.
Yeah, maybe
stand-up
comedy
or
yeah.
musician.
Yeah, musician.
Any entertainer, really.
Yeah.
A lot.
I mean, let's be real. That's what we do. Is we get paid
do,
to entertain people,
Which
was weird to take that.
I take it as you take your lumps at the beginning, and then whatever the luck is, whatever the thing is that pops off for you, whether it was a video that had the right thumbnail and title on it, and all of a sudden everybody knows who you are, you carry the gratification and the gratefulness, I should say, into that, and the appreciation for what you've been through, and just say, this is absolutely amazing. Thank you guys. I can't believe a single person even watched this stuff, because you just remember, right, how hard it was at the beginning, and you carry that gratitude through what you do going forward, and I don't think you can lose. I think if you remain in that state, I think you're going to be just fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think of it this way: like the videos that you and I put out. If I get 100,000 on a video, I'm pumped. I'm like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
You can barely fit 100,000 people into a big professional arena. Like, just think of that. Like 100,000 people are there, and you just stand in the middle. That's the amount of people who are watching your stuff. Like, that's insane.
I don't
At
like
the
to
same
think
time,
about
that's like a fraction
like
of a percentage of people in the U.S.
True. Yeah.
That's less than 1%.
Yeah. Derek, let him have his moment.
Come on, give me that satisfaction.
I mean, come on, you're not Mr. Beast with whatever 50 million followers or whatever he has, right? You know, like one out of every 5 Americans.
Much.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like you find it. You can't see this stuff because they don't let you see it.
Right.
But I even going back to like Instagram days, I'm intensely curious. Like, if I knew the people that followed Eric, Eric is the closest to what I do. Zach is like a whole different level.
That's his own thing.
Electronics and all that stuff.
Nerd.
Yeah, super nerdy. He like sometimes like stoops down and like cuts some dumb wood.
Only with the CNC though.
To like house his complex electronics projects. But like, how many people out there in the great big world because Eric, your following is close to mine.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of like relative size of our YouTube channels.
Yeah.
How many people follow you that don't follow me, and vice versa, right? Like, what is that overlap? I don't know, but I could imagine that it's probably, you know, less than half, right? Maybe 25%.
For sure.
You know?
Definitely.
And so it just, you go to say, well, and they tell you that, like, people say this when you listen to YouTubers give advice about like finding your voice and finding your following. There's so many people out there, and just because I operate in this niche with, like, let's say 500 or 1,000 other people, that it doesn't mean a whole lot. It doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of your ability to grow and be who you are and do what you do and find your portion of that, right?
Yeah.
It's
There's room
amazing
for everyone.
There is literally
there is,
room for everyone. If you can still do this.
Oh, good one, Tara.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Friday nights at your mom's house, right?
No, but you're so right. Anyone can do this.
Yeah. If you can still do it if you think of like when, YouTube became big, if you can still do this and be successful in 2024, you can do anything, right? There's still room, right? There's still room. So,
do you guys find yourself ever becoming like evangelists for your other friends? Like, oh man, you should start a YouTube channel.
Oh, I've said that to a lot of. I've got one of my buddies who's, he works a job that's somewhat seasonal, but he's still, still gets paid throughout the year. So he's like, during the winter, he's like, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. I was like, well, what are you interested in? He's like, I thought about doing some camper stuff, like some RV stuff, and like, fixing up stuff. I was like, dude, just like film what you're doing. He goes, nobody wants to watch that. And I was like, yes, they do.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yep. I talk a lot to people about what I do, and they still see it as woodworking.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you make stuff for people.
No.
Well, I make stuff for my wife, which is a person.
That's the best job you can have.
But it's the best business you can have. But my business is telling people what I do. It's not that I do this thing. And they're like, oh, I do woodworking. I have a small shop in my garage. And I was like,
cool.
I know all about that. Did you ever consider telling people what you do?
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. In terms of in a formal way. And it opens their eyes a little bit to what the possibilities are in the modern economy, right? In the modern world,
right?
How much money, and it's not all about money. I don't mean to make it about that, but
no.
You can find your way in this world, and you can make a success of yourself, and you can make a brand for yourself. And you can get out there and find a community that is specific to what you do.
Yeah.
And make a living off of it, right? That's
right.
You don't have to be scared of that. It's not this taboo niche thing like it would have, if you would have been saying stuff like that in 2010. That's a whole different game. But today you can absolutely do it. The tools have never been better. And
except Meta.
Well,
yeah.
Meta's
That's a different conversation.
Meta's going to be the new X here very, very soon.
Oh yeah. No, but you're absolutely right. It has never been easier than now to, let's not say make a killing, but just make a living doing something you actually like to do.
Yeah.
And you have complete control over what that looks like, right? Like finding your style, finding what works for you, right? And then what works for me, that's so interesting, is figuring out like why something works for you, but then you tell someone else to do it and it doesn't quite work for them the same way that it works for you.
Right.
True.
I think people see through some of that stuff, some of the strategy a little bit. There's enough people that have been savvy enough at YouTube that the viewers kind of get it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But when you start to realize that you don't necessarily have to do all of that, you can just kind of be yourself and figure out what works for you, and what works for you may not work for somebody else, right? And it's just all about figuring out exactly how that goes for you and what makes you the most comfortable and how you connect best to people. And there's room for all of it.
Yeah, there's a million different ways to do it, and part of the fun is, we do take advice from each other, and you see what works for other people, but there's an element of carving your own lane too, and trying to build out your own niche, where that's, I'm never going to be as successful as Eric if all I'm doing is emulating your style. Like if I'm just, because I'll never be you as well as you're you, right? So you kind of have to find something that works for you in order to have your own niche, essentially.
Right. I made that mistake when I first started out. There was a creator that I really, really enjoyed their stuff. So I literally used the same music as them. I edited my videos almost the exact same way. And I actually had them reach out to me and they're like, hey, you popped up on my YouTube channel. Your stuff is awesome, but
stop it.
No. They were like, I'm flattered. I can tell, that you took inspiration from my stuff. You are going to be successful, but I want to strongly encourage you to make your own version of what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Because I would even get questions or comments of like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of so-and-so's video, or like, are you related to so-and-so? This is just like their video. And I was like, it was a compliment, but I was also like, this isn't what I'm going for.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I mean, but that's also,
I think it's part of finding who you, because you don't know, right? If you're starting from zero, I don't know how to talk in front of a camera. I don't know how to, I don't know how to tell a story the way that I want to tell the story. So you naturally look for people who are doing it well, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you absorb it, and hopefully you get to the point where it starts to look like something different, right? But you're always going to start out looking like somebody else.
Yeah. You emulate what you enjoy.
You emulate what you enjoy. You emulate what you see as successful, or you emulate what you aspire to, which I think is a bigger compliment, is to say, man, that is really awesome. I want to do that. I want to be that and say things that way and film in that style. But then ultimately you end up making that a part of what you do, but other things start to come in and take form around that, that looks like something that's totally different from what somebody else is doing. It takes time, though. It takes a lot of videos. It takes a lot of when I used to think, before I would hit publish on a video on YouTube, this is the best I could do. Like, this is, I thought of everything.
All into it.
I got the audio, I got the story, I got the script, I got the this, that, the other thing, like my camera's in focus, like all this stuff. 5 years later, I look at that and I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
Why did I even do that? Right. And you thought you were looking like this person, or you were doing this or whatever. But you're really just finding yourself, right? You're really just figuring out how to do it, and you see the other people around you. And so you just try to figure out what are the best parts of that I can incorporate into what I'm doing.
Right. The thing that Zach and I always talk about, anybody who's wanting to get into YouTube content creation, whatever, go to your favorite creators page, whoever it is, any niche, scroll down to the very first video. Watch that. And tell me you couldn't probably make that video.
Assuming they didn't delete their first
video. Like my first video.
It.
They put it on unlisted or whatever. My first video, how to make concrete coasters. Oh my God. When I put that video out, I was like, this is a Steven Spielberg masterpiece. And it is so bad. It's so hard to watch.
Yeah, because I knew my first video was bad. Like, objectively, I knew it was bad, but I was like, it's pretty good. Like, it's not great, but it's like, it felt like this big thing that I don't know.
But you knew how to use a camera. I was using like an iPhone 4 with like a cracked camera.
Yeah, I was like, like I took my audio files and I sent it to like 5 different people and I said, how does this sound? How would you, send it off to an editor? Can you please make this sound good? Bring it back. And then again, years later, you're like, well, the audio does sound good, but my God, that was, I sound like I'm talking at 5 miles an hour and I'm like so boring. And, you just learn.
Like there's elements like, it's like I filmed my first video with like a good camera and I think it looked okay, but that's like the smallest, like that's 5% of making a good video.
True.
The other part is like, keeping the audience engaged, like having a good story and having like all these other things that go on top of it. It's like, so you can't just have like one slip. You can't have perfect audio and perfect visual and expect 1 million views because it's just not going to happen.
But you do have to have good audio. Nobody wants to listen to what Tim can.
That's true.
It's amazing how you can race through it and still be boring, like you said. Just talk a mile a minute and still have nothing to say.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's what we were saying before.
Talk and you think you're sounding fast, and then you actually go back and listen to it, and you're like, "Wow, I sound so slow."
Yeah.
Right.
But in the moment, because you're trying to process everything you're trying to say and spit it out without like making a mistake, you think, "Oh man, I nailed that!" I got all this nailed down to 10-minute video. This sounds great, and you go back and listen to it, and you're like, and now you go in and you cut this, and you do that. It's like,
so true.
And
whoa, holy cow!
And,
It is like, oh yeah, it's amazing how. But then you appreciate how far you've grown, right? Go back, humble yourself, and go back and listen to your first videos.
I'd be scared.
Yeah. Every video I put out, I try to do something new or do a new technique or learn something. Just slowly iterate.
Yeah.
And,
and like even going back, like, I'll watch my old videos to some degree and I'll be like, here's the one where I figured out how to like really mix my vocals and my music so that they weren't like clashing with each other. It's like, here's the one where I don't know, figured out this technique or that technique. And it's just like, every video you're getting a little bit better.
Well, we got some questions and I have some additional questions and topics that we want to talk about, but we're going to do that over on the after show. So if you want to join us over on the after show, you go to patreon.com/offthecut-podcast. And huge shout out to our returning top tier patrons. We've got Renee, aka the Goblin Spanker. Dan Armendariz.
I'm afraid to ask.
That's the real name. We always tell people if they sign up for Patreon and they have a silly name, one that won't get us in legal trouble, we'll say it. And we haven't had a lot of people take us up on it. We got Dan Armendariz, Luke Schmidt, Josh at Freedom Workshop, Corey Duvall, and Dadu. Those are just some of our patrons who are going to be over on the after show. And if you want to get that, just sign up on patreon.com/offthecutpodcast. Best bang for the buck as you sign up for the cheap tier. And then you win that
$50 gift
the
card.
$50 Cam Tools gift card. You came out on top on that deal. You pay $3 and get a $50 gift
and
card.
then as soon as you win, you immediately unsubscribe from our
and
Patreon.
you cancel.
But before you do, download the whole back catalog of all the after shows. That's how you really maximize your dollar.
Hey, we're here for the people.
We sure are.
Well, Matt, stay with us. We are going to head over to the after show. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in. And make sure you check out Matt, MWA Woodworks, all over the place. Matt, thanks for joining us, man.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
We will see you guys next week.
Excellent. Hey, on the walk over to the after show, is anybody a football fan? Anybody got predictions for the Super Bowl? Who are you going with?
Winner or loser, whoever wins or loses, Taylor Swift will win.
Yes.
Agreed.
Let's talk about this in the after show. Let's talk about this in the after show. I think we'll have something
live stream crew, I'm going to end the stream, and most of you guys in live stream will see over the after show.